Hello everyone! Welcome to another episode of Bible Q&A. Today we're discussing who is a faithful and wise servant. This hypothetical person comes from Matthew chapter 24 verses 45 to 47. The verses read, "Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord when he cometh shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods." Matthew chapter 24 verses 45 to 47. There aren't many people like them, according to Luke chapter 18 verse 8. This is because a lot of people don't know that Jesus, represented by the Lord, has come in the last days. Christ himself said in Revelation, "Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame." Revelation chapter 16 verse 15. Jesus represented this aspect of his coming with the 10 virgins, 5 of whom didn't think the bridegroom would delay and hence decided to not bring any extra oil. Those who are aware, however, know that he's here because of the saints. As it was said in Jeremiah, "And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding." Jeremiah chapter 3 verse 15. The saints' message causes them to change their mindset, like Lydia in Acts chapter 16 verse 14, and they are then able to perceive Christ's presence, according to Luke chapter 17 verse 30. More importantly, they'll begin to live righteously, which is what "to give them meat in due season" means. Remember, Jesus said his words are bread in John chapter 6 verse 35, so if we share them with others through our example, as advised by Matthew chapter 5 verse 16, we're feeding them better than if we just give them physical food. Now, notice how even though the faithful and wise servant was made ruler over the Lord's household, his only reward for doing that faithfully was being able to keep his job. Similarly, when we understand that Christ is here, we are given more understanding, as shown by Proverbs chapter 28 verse 5, and we get to continue doing that forever. This understanding alone, without any additional benefits, is praiseworthy. As it was said in Isaiah, "And the ransomed of the Lord shall return, and come to Zion with songs and everlasting joy upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away." Isaiah chapter 35 verse 10. Now, this journey isn't easy, of course. 2 Timothy chapter 3 verses 1 to 7 says the world is becoming more iniquitous, and Matthew chapter 24 verse 13 says we can only be faithful and wise if we go through these challenges with our faith intact. No challenge, no reward. For example, Joshua and Caleb are also faithful and wise servants, even though the saints never spoke to them, because they stuck with God to the end, according to Joshua chapter 14 verse 8, regardless of whether people thought they could enter the land of Canaan. Plus, we have to contend with the people represented by the evil servant, mentioned in the verses that follow Matthew chapter 24 verses 45 to 47. "But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Matthew chapter 24 verses 48 to 51. These people refuse the message of Jesus and use various means to persecute those that do follow him, the fellow servants. They may attack them physically, use politics to silence them, or simply preach different doctrines that lead people away from the faith. For example, the Pharisees beat the apostles in Acts chapter 5 verses 41 to 42 and spread lies about Jesus, as recorded in Matthew chapter 28 verses 12 to 15. Because of their actions, many Jews rejected the gospel. The reason they do that, which isn't specified in the parable, is that the system that the master set up was corrupted by the evil servant, and the fellow servants were trying to restore it to its original glory. The evil servant, trying to preserve the structures he set up, started to persecute them to intimidate them. For example, when Christianity was set up on Pentecost in Acts chapter 2, the Pharisees and other enemies started to persecute its followers, starting from Stephen in Acts chapter 7. Another example of an evil servant was the Pharaoh who ruled during the period of the Exodus. He beat the Israelites, prevented them from worshiping God, and tried to corner them by the sea. In short, he did everything he could to ruin God's plan. In response, God punished Pharaoh and the Pharisees when they least expected it, and the same applies to the evil servants of our time. Their political alliances will cause them to gain less power and more scorn, and their alternate doctrines will be rejected. Nothing they do to make themselves look good will work. After all, as it was said in Jeremiah, "And when thou art spoiled, what wilt thou do? Though thou clothest thyself with crimson, though thou deckest thee with ornaments of gold, though thou rentest thy face with painting, in vain shalt thou make thyself fair. Thy lovers will despise thee, they will seek thy life." Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 30. Even their loyal followers will desert them, leaving them with nothing and the faithful and wise servants with everything, according to Matthew chapter 13, verse 12. And that's the end of this episode of Bible Q&A. Who is a faithful and wise servant? A faithful and wise servant is someone who knows that Jesus is here and behaves accordingly, as opposed to an evil servant that wants to disrupt Christ's work. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.